So Kizaru versus Rayleigh is one of the most lied on fights in the community, but I'm going to break it down here and explain everything that took place. So we start off with obviously Kizaru showing up in awesome fashion on the cannonball. He has his fun with the worst generation captains, just trolls them, and makes perfect note that he came casual. He didn't expect any big force. He didn't expect any trouble. He says to Sengoku he'll be right back. And we see that Rayleigh intercepts him as he's about to finish off Zoro after scaring all the Straw Hats and everything. When Rayleigh intercepts him, Kizaru says, "So you're making an appearance, Dark King Rayleigh," and Rayleigh says, "You shouldn't be plucking the young sprouts like these. Your time is just beginning." We then see Kizaru say, "I kept hearing that you were on this island, but to think that you're really here, I never thought you would be looking out for small timers like this. A pirate to the end, huh, Rayleigh?" Rayleigh says, "If you would kindly tear up my wanted poster, then I could live out my retirement in peace." Kizaru says, "Your sins as a pirate won't disappear, not to mention you're one of the Roger pirates. But if we tried to capture you here, even we would need to make certain preparations." So this is the first point of contention. People take this as Kizaru saying that he could not capture Rayleigh or something. As we continue through, you're going to find how dumb that actually sounds, but it's more so in line with just the Marines being an organization. And look at everything that goes into Ace's execution. Rayleigh is somebody of higher stature than even Ace, being Roger's son. Rayleigh was his right-hand man and partner, somebody with legendary exploits, as stated by Garb calling him a legend, and a legend that he compares to Whitebeard, mind you. So the preparations, it would have to be even a larger scale than it was for Ace bringing him in. They even talk about at the end of all this, the paperwork that has to be done for the 500 pirates that Kizaru captured later, which we'll get into this talking point later as well. But there's a whole bunch of things that need to take place, and he wasn't ordered to bring in Rayleigh. He doesn't care to bring in Rayleigh, and that's not his mission. Besides, if that was the case, if Kizaru really was like afraid of Rayleigh or didn't, like, he wouldn't fight him. He wouldn't sit here and fight him. Like, he would just leave or surrender or something like that. That's not what would happen, obviously. But that's just how stupid the interpretations you see for this go, especially considering that, of course, this is going to be a tough fight no matter who you think wins. With that said, you see Rayleigh say, "Now, is there any way that you could let them go, Kizaru?" Kizaru says, "Give me a break. If I don't get them, then the Marines would lose face with the Tenryubito. Won't you stay out of my way?" So they basically just have back and forth banter from all this dialogue where it's like, would you please just let them go? Would you please just stay out of my way? They're both really sarcastic people. Neither one of them are really angry or fucking bloodlusted per se, but it doesn't change the fact that the fight's going to take place. The thing about Kizaru though this whole time is that it's highlighted how he just continues to stay calm. He continues to stretch his words like he does, meaning he's never flustered in any moment. But even going further, when Luffy says we can't beat these guys, he's like ignoring us. That makes me mad. Like, he just continues to troll the entire time. Rayleigh says he's praying for their safety as they try to run away, and Kizaru loads up his Yatamir. Now, Yatamir could be perceived as Kizaru's second fastest technique after the acceleration technique, because he goes into his pure light, he chases people down in an instant with it, and he reflects directly. He just fully goes into pure light, and this is super impressive from Rayleigh, although he does look at the trajectory before there's a time to build up the Yatamir. But Rayleigh sees the line and then cuts through the line as Kizaru is getting ready to go, and he slices Kizaru in the cheek. Just a small little wound, but it sent the message, right? So then even after this, it's highlighted how Kizaru stays very calm and stays in his trolling manner and says, "Whoa there, you're not going anywhere," says Rayleigh. "It's been a while since I've held a sword." And Kizaru in kind pulls out his own sword and they start to clash. You then see the small cut on Kizaru's cheek as he says, "Well, this is trouble and I came here so casually too." So he wasn't really intent on fighting Rayleigh. As I highlighted, he was going to just go past him with the Yatamir. He didn't. Rayleigh intercepted it, and now they're in a fight. Rayleigh again replies sarcastic, "Life always throws curves." And you see Sentomaru's line that says, "Looks like that's the real Dark King. This is the first time I've ever seen anybody stop my uncle." People use this panel as if it comes after the whole interaction. Like, you'll see people that lie on this panel that say that this panel came after the Straw Hats escaped or something like that, or that Sentomaru is saying that like Rayleigh beat Kizaru or Rayleigh was like really inhibiting Kizaru. This is just him reacting to him stopping the Yatamir, the initial one that he literally watched happen, and then Kizaru pulled out the sword super casual. That's all that was. You also get more statements as they're clashing, which is super impressive from Rayleigh actually. And this is where I talk about, Rayleigh actually still scales to Luffy right now, which should be very clear based on the callback that you see where Shaki says, oh, Rayleigh's 100 times stronger than Luffy. And then Luffy, when he goes to clash with Kizaru, says, I'm 100 times stronger now. It's a direct callback from Oda. Obviously, he's making a comparison to those two instances. You could take it as like more of a jokey manner, but even in the context of the story, Luffy would remember that line, and that's why he'd be saying it. So it's like he feels like he's finally up on this level now with Ray, which is consistent with this feat anyway, because you never actually see Luffy react to physical attacks from Kizaru anyway. It's always just Kizaru on the defensive or him using his acceleration, which is obviously faster than anything we saw in this Rayleigh fight, which blitzed Luffy in Gear 4 obviously, but he was reacting to Gear 5. But Rayleigh, if you look close on this panel, they clash multiple times. So this is super impressive for Rayleigh to be keeping up with Kizaru's speed, and it falls in line with that statement that they're similar. Now, with the stamina problems that both have, you can argue either way, but that's a different video for a different day. But the whole point is that they're in a similar tier. And if you're confused about Kizaru Luffy, at this point, just go watch my video. Every single possible argument you could fathom in your mind for why you think one way or the other, I cover in that video. Just go watch it. Everything will be clear after that. But the point that's super interesting about the dialogue here is that he says, my subordinates are extremely strong themselves, aren't they? So with that context involved, we've already seen that Sentomaru is well and above all the Straw Hats that are here at this point. He's already bodying Luffy. Luffy was a little tired from fighting the pacifist and everything, but even if you wanted to argue that, he's stronger than their current state, which is more than enough needed to capture them, especially with the pacifistas he has. So Kizaru doesn't really have any urgency because he understands they're going to get captured one way or another. You're just one man, Rayleigh, but my subordinates are here and they're going to capture them. And then in Kan, you see Sentomaru chasing down Luffy and slamming him again. So you understand that it's inevitable that they are going to be captured. Sentomaru was way beyond their pay grade at this point, which Luffy even admits. We can't beat these guys. And then he talks about he wants to surpass all of them later. But that really sets the stage of the pressure's actually on Rayleigh here, which gets highlighted even more later. So what you see is that Rayleigh starts visibly sweating. And when Kuma shows up, that's when Kizaru's a little bit like, what the fuck's going on here? They clash again. And he says, Kuma, the Shibukai, should have convened at headquarters. So like, this is weird. This is exactly why pirates can't be trusted. So he doesn't know what's happening. It's not to say he doesn't even know that Kuma's betraying them at this point, which is highlighted by Sentomaru's dialogue later. He's like, is he killing them with his paw proof? What's happening? But he's just dealing with Rayleigh, and Rayleigh says, I'd like to go over there too. But so that implies that Rayleigh's doing everything possible to try to get over there. Like, he wants to go help them. It's more so he cannot get past Kizaru in this instance because he obviously understands there's way more threats out there. Now with Kuma showing up, the pacifista, Sentomaru, the Straw Hats are cooked. Like, they are cooked. This is all Rayleigh can do, which is super impressive that he can even hold with Kizaru. But you have to understand that the person that's feeling more pressure and the person that would more so need to get out of this interaction is Rayleigh, and that's why Kizaru can just casually swing his sword with Rayleigh. He's not even a swordsman per se, but he pulls out a makeshift light sword just to spar with Rayleigh. Kizaru is holding Rayleigh back from helping them as the inevitability occurs. But anyway, you keep seeing more lines where there's a couple translations for this, where you see another interaction where they continue to clash, and Rayleigh again says, something extraordinary is going on over there. Kuma sending the Straw Hats away. I'd like to go help them, but the years have slowed me down. Kizaru replies, keeping an admiral at bay isn't enough for you, eh? Don't say things like that, it makes me look bad. So it's obviously in jest. If you guys know anything about Kizaru's character, you know that they're both, Rayleigh and Kizaru, are super witty, super casual, super sarcastic characters. So they're just playing in kind with each other. So this reinforces what I was saying about Rayleigh really wants to go help them, but he cannot get past Kizaru. That's why he's saying something like the years have slowed me down, indicating that like perhaps if he was in his prime, he could get past Kizaru and potentially go help them. I disagree with that. There's statements that imply Rayleigh has maintained his strength. Databook Deep Blue implies this. Volume 82 SPS implies that they maintain their strength, but his stamina is definitely far less. So yeah, prime is going to be above stamina reasons. He's also like rusty, which plays into stamina, which is why he was sweating on panel, which is why it's a problem. But if you argue he maintained his strength, then it's going to be situationally where like at the beginning, he's still going to have that same kind of output, same kind of AP, so to speak, but it will just wane as the battle goes. Also, when you understand that like fighting Kizaru is extremely exhausting. You saw that with Luffy, or trying to keep up with Kizaru's high-speed movements. Extremely exhausting, so especially for Rayleigh, I think people overblow how bad his stamina truly is. I think it's just really part of the opponent. But also, if you look at the dialogue, like I said, with them casually just kind of taking shots at each other, like casually kind of antagonizing the other, it's like, he's like, oh, you know, man, I would have whooped your ass in my prime. Like, it's like an old man that's, you know, talking shit to you. Whether or not it's true, I'm thinking right now of the, if you guys watch boxing, Floyd Mayweather, he got interviewed by, you know, this one dude, I forget his name, but they have an interview where the guy says, I would have whooped your ass 20 years ago or something like that. Obviously fucking not. He would not have. This is Floyd Mayweather. He's just nobody of that kind of stature, right? But people say shit like that all the time. Now, you could take that as you will. That's just my interpretation of it. I gave you my belief on it. So it's very, again, highlighted, reinforcing the point. Rayleigh is the one that's not being able to get past Kizaru to go help. And it's also implying that he is going all out, and Rayleigh has all forms of advanced hockey. So obviously we don't see hockey illustrated the way we see it today. But knowing all this and seeing what Rayleigh, you know, was flexing against Blackbeard, what do you actually believe he's using in these clashes, which makes Kizaru look even better, aging like wine, looking back on all this, especially with the fact that we understand that Rayleigh is getting very tired from the interaction. So he's outputting a lot of force. So at that point, Kuma catches up with them, which is actually kind of a crazy thing. He whispers whatever he has to whisper into Rayleigh's ear, and the fight essentially ends because Kuma has sent them away. So at this point, you see Kizaru say this is quite a problem. Rayleigh not saying anything. They're kind of just like at a standstill. They're kind of just standing there. There's nothing left for Kizaru to do here. His mission targets have been discarded. They're gone. Kuma took them away. He doesn't know where they went. They went all different places. Kuma did that very smart, so Kizaru couldn't just zip over to any individual. They're gone. So there's no more reason for Kizaru, who's already very lazy by nature, who was never ordered to capture Rayleigh, to fight with Rayleigh when it is going to be an extended fight, even though Rayleigh is getting tired at that point. And honestly, it would be not necessarily easy, but since it's already been started here, Kizaru could just capture Rayleigh here. If he really presses it, who knows how much longer Rayleigh was going to last. But when you understand that Kizaru held back his acceleration technique, which makes him much faster, so he could have zoomed away to potentially get them, and his clones, which could have really aided here to capture the Straw Hats if he wanted to. If Kizaru had any urgency to a point where he didn't think that the other subordinates were going to be able to capture them, it's so easy for him to just use the clones. Use the clones to either get away from Rayleigh or just simply go capture each individual Straw Hat. Clones who are able to even damage Luffy, that don't scale to Kizaru, mind you. If they were able to damage a Gear 5 Luffy, they're going to destroy everybody here. Demolish them. Like, they're all weaker than Sentomaru. Like, those clones are easily packing up each and every one of them if he wanted to use them. So knowing all that kind of shit in hindsight really lays it out. You also understand that Kizaru can use I-beams as well. So it's like when he's clashing with Rayleigh, he could be a little bit more serious. Now, I'm sure in fairness, Rayleigh's named attacks are going to be shown to us at some point. We don't see them on panel, but we know they're fighting off screen. Like I said, Rayleigh's implying he's doing everything he can. On the other hand, you don't see Kizaru huffing and puffing at any point. He remains casual the whole time. So the last piece of evidence is that people like to throw out in your face is this one scan that's fodder marines coming to inform Sengoku of what's happening. And Sengoku's already very, very stressed. And Kizaru, who said he would be returning and be right back, who was already in this room, mind you, is notably not coming in himself, right? When he was obviously, you know, supposed to. It's because he doesn't want to get in trouble for not doing what he said he was gonna do and not, you know, completing the mission. So he sends other people in there. And also they throw in this line where he captured 500 other pirates. Now, manga versions, they say he captured 500 pirates to vent his rage. Either way you look at it, it doesn't matter because it's very clear if you understand Kizaru's character. For one, we don't see this rage at any point. Like, we don't see him mad. He wasn't mad in the panel I showed. He said, this is quite a problem. It's more so like, shit, he's gonna get scolded. So he captured the weakest 500 pirates that were there, didn't even go grab some of the fucking worst generation. He probably did this all in one fell swoop cleanly, threw him on the ship and was like, ah, fuck it, I'm throwing all these guys on the ship. Knowing Kizaru, he probably told this guy to make sure it sounds like he was really mad and fed up, so he went out of his way to do this. Meanwhile, he's probably just eating some ramen on the fucking ship, like not even worried about this shit. Like, he was just being lazy. Also, if you disagree with that, another thing I'd propose that we have the benefit of having hindsight for is that now we know that Kizaru had a pretty good relationship with Kuma and Bonnie, to where he's at least a strong acquaintance with them. We saw him dancing the Nika dance and eating pizza and partying with them, and he was with them for a period of 6 months. So when Kuma betrays the Marines here, especially after Kizaru kind of was there when he first joined the warlord system or agreed. That would be more so something that would piss him off, along with obviously the mission failing. But it's more so like, this guy was somebody I kind of saw as like a cool dude, maybe even perhaps a friend, and he just ruined everything and like helped them get away. And it's not really Rayleigh irritating him. Obviously, if Rayleigh was irritating him, we'd have seen that throughout their fight. We'd have seen him losing his calm. As I mentioned before, he never did. He's only upset after the fact, right? After Kuma interrupted. That kind of tells you even more so that it was all in control until Kuma intervened, especially with the relationships that they have. So again, there's no way to like prove he was mad or anything like that. This random person is interpreting that he's mad. Mind you, these same fodder people don't understand basic shit like in the Luffy fight. They don't have the full context. So like when it's very clear to us, Kizaru is mentally conflicted and down for mental wounds, is highlighted here by Samuel AP. They're thinking he might actually be physically wounded, right? Or is physically unfit to compete. So it's very easy to misinterpret things, especially like the dumb fodder Marines. He could very easily just skew this that way. I've already explained, why Kizaru was in the position he was in, how he had the clear advantage as far as situationally how things were going and how it was going to play out regardless because of Rayleigh's stamina issues. I view this the same as the Luffy fight. It's a bottom level high diff. I really don't think Kizaru was really pressed by any stretch of the imagination. If you really look at it from an objective lens, he literally just countered everything Rayleigh had with a makeshift light sword, not being a swordsman, while like apprehending him, so to speak, and like pressing Rayleigh to a point where he could not do anything else when he wanted to do things as he fucking told us. That's my take on it. I think it's very clear who was stronger of the two here, Kizaru, and it's very clear that the personalities of both led to the outcome that we saw. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe and let me know what other kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. Peace.